Guys, we got good news. Blackrock keeps on adding Bitcoin to their own funds, more and more of them, and they just did a big ad today. Now, the ETFs are not their own funds. The ETFs are the funds they control for their customers. However, they have their own funds, like the Strategic Income and Bond Fund. That is worth $37.4 billion, guys. But of course, not all of it is the ETF. They've allocated $200 million more to Bitcoin. And of course, that's going to be taken up by their own iShares ETF. But BlackRock is now buying their own ETF for their own funds, which means BlackRock is buying Bitcoin for itself. See, this is a roundabout way because BlackRock is not allowed to buy Bitcoin directly. So they're buying their own ETF. And guess what? If they buy their own ETF, they have to buy the Bitcoin to support the ETF. Tricky, you know. Gary Gensler thought he had him, but no, BlackRock found a way, of course. Obviously, Gensler knew about this. I think this is one of the reasons he didn't want to accept the ETF, because he knew companies would buy each other's ETF and buy their own ETF and invest in Bitcoin that way. And once Bitcoin gets entrenched in the system, it's very, very hard to move. Now, obviously, this is a precursor to the big prize, which is their pension and retirement funds, which are not allowed to hold Bitcoin yet. But I think at the beginning of next year, they're going to be allowed to buy Bitcoin. And I think that's going to transfer billions of dollars. So I still think the crux of the bull run is like beginning of next year because of that particular rule. Now, it's going to run up this year, but I think it's going to run up the most next year. But anyways, we just did open up 200 million more in Bitcoin funds by BlackRock, and this is the only starting by BlackRock. Fidelity obviously is going to buy their own funds too, as are a lot of other companies. In fact, over 600 companies and some of the biggest investment companies and hedge funds have actually bought Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, the ETF is well entrenched in the industry, and they're not going to let Bitcoin fall now because there's billions of dollars, I think like $20 billion now invested in this ETF. And if Bitcoin goes kaput, all that money goes kaput. Plus, you have to remember, a couple of the teachers unions have actually invested in the Bitcoin ETF as well. So, if it goes kaput, well, that goes kaput as well. Plus, you have to remember, Wisconsin and Arizona, they've actually invested into Bitcoin ETF for their pension fund, and they definitely do not want that going kaput. So they're going to protect these ETFs now as more and more money comes in. Remember, the big prize is still next year when the retirement and pension funds from BlackRock, Fidelity, etc. can come in. That can cause some big earthquake shakes for that that stuff over there, because that's just huge. And that's like billions and billions of dollars coming in. Like I said, I did calculations before on another video. Go check that out. That if only like 1% of the retirement and pension funds come in from the States, it's $55 billion. And that's like more than twice of all these ETFs combined. And that's like without any grayscale selling. That would actually pull Bitcoin well over 100,000 by itself. So I'm looking very, very bullish at those numbers right now. But BlackRock did just put 200 million more into Bitcoin themselves, not only for their customers, but only for themselves as well. And they are very, very well entrenched in the Bitcoin industry. The other thing I want to mention is that you should be bullish up at least until Friday, because Friday is the options expiry. There's like over $6 billion of options expiry, and the bulls have it more than the bears. What does that actually mean? That means there's a decent likelihood it pumps until Friday and then drops after Friday. The target is $72,000 because there's a bunch of call options at $72,000. What that means is like they buy the right to buy buy Bitcoin at $72,000 no matter what price it is. Obviously, right now with Bitcoin at $68,000, those options are useless because you don't want to buy Bitcoin at $72,000 once it's only at $68,000. They need it above $72,000 to exercise those options, or they become worthless by Friday. So there might be a push by bulls to actually push it up to about 72,000 or higher. If it goes above 72, get 73, they make hundreds of millions of dollars in profit. And obviously the bulls are very interested in that. Obviously the bears might have like call options and they might want to mitigate that. But generally, there's more call options than put options right now. Basically, you just pay X amount of money to be able to buy Bitcoin at X price, no matter what price it is, and you need Bitcoin to go above that strike price in these calls and puts. So obviously there's a lot of people that want Bitcoin above 72K. But remember, the cutoff is this Friday. So after this Friday, if it gets to 72K, it easily could dump back to 68K based on those call options expiring. When the call options expire, there's no more incentive to keep Bitcoin up at that price. And at that point, people might actually sell because they've been holding on to it for a little too long. I'm not really sure if the volume or momentum is there to hold Bitcoin at a very high price at this specific point. We might have to wait until later in the summer to get more Bitcoin price, except like some of these memes that I recently lost are pumping like crazy, like Jasmine, Floki, they're pumping like mad. But most coins are kind of like stable right now. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.